Okay, we are trying this again. I deleted my first approach of doing this because it was sounding so horrible. I was trying a new USB based setup instead of going through my hard mixer. But apparently, I'm going to have to invest in some more equipment, which I will do. So as you are coming in, I would request that you let me know how this one sounds. If you were on my first attempt at doing this, it sounded horrible when I played it back. So I scrapped that video. Just doing some monitoring here, moving stuff around. I see 2 have come in. As I said, I scrapped my first video attempt at this. It sounded so horrible when I did the playback, I wouldn't even leave it up. So I would request that you let me know how it's sounding, so I know if I've got a much better approach. Just typing in a request. There we go. Change my seat position. There we go. Got to be comfortable when you're playing foot pedals. So for those that have come in, let me know how it. Let me know how it sounds, so I know if the adjustments I made are comparable. I've also made some adjustments on my camera from my last video, so I look more colorful. I'll put it in that term. Adjusting how the hat looks. There we go. You say, why do musicians wear hats? To keep our head warm. Not to keep the music in, but trying to keep our head warm. We have 2 in so far. Let me just play some music so that I can have a reference. Please let me know how it sounds so that I can continue to make adjustments. Let's see. Let me make an adjustment here. And adjust some of these highs. Now, if I want a line walking, I'd be adjusting the drawbars with a full hand, trying to adjust my sound. All right, just getting a reference. If for those that are coming in, just give me an idea whether or not it's sounding. Can you hear me clearly? I'm not too bassy in my voice, and no humming as I heard in my last attempt at doing this. And that the organ or the virtual organ sounds clear. Adjust my foot pedals down here. A little bit too far away from me. Okay, that should be better. All right, so let's change some of the settings here. See if we can push the sound a little bit. I want to know how well or how full a sound I can get before I go into distortion with what I'm doing right now. So let's bring up a little more drill bars. Let's change the song. Let's bring up our bass a little bit. Don't have a drum pattern to put back there, but it's okay. Do Lord remember me. Yeah, I'm old school. Adjust the foot pedals again. Whew. Old school Church of God in Christ. So yeah, I know about that testimony style music. and of course changing keys. So please let me know how is it sounding as I'm making adjustments as a reference for me. Let's see, let's change some of these sounds up again. What key have I not been in? B flat. Let's put a little percussion in there because you can do that with a virtual instrument. Fast percussion. Let's do the third. Just a closer walk with the Thank you. Foot pedals keep moving on me. Guess I need to put a stopper down there. Okay, thanks, Sean and Buddy, for letting me know that it's sounding okay. If you'd heard my first one, if you did hear the first one, it should be night and day. I was trying to make everything USB based, just trying to cut down on the use of hardware I have here, and it didn't work out. I just have to invest, as they say, in some newer equipment and then get to learn how to integrate that into what I'm trying to do. Let's see. What moved on me? Looks like my... Okay. Let's turn off the percussion. Let's see what else we can pull up here. As I say, on a real organ, and as I look to do lessons, to have actual live lessons for organists who play Hammond organ, this is the setup using software that I'm going to use. Now, my keyboard is shown there because the last time I tried this, there was a concern that they couldn't see where my fingers were. This keyboard view is what I'm playing on, but the organ view is a simulated Hammond organ. Gives you an idea for the actual drawbar settings that I'm using. and then the keyboard will show you where my hands are. And if you had the same drawbar settings, a simulated sound as to how you would hear it on your own organ. Because I believe a lot of musicians hide their settings from other musicians because they don't want them to duplicate their sound. As you can see in this format, you won't. I'm not hiding any settings. You see exactly what settings I'm using and how it sounds simulated, of course. On a live organ, it may be a little different based upon how well it is maintained in service. But this will give you an idea. Let's see if I can switch to. Okay. Here in this setting, I have different cabinets. I'm using an actual direct box, but I can switch to an open cabinet, closed, an AC box, jazz, whatever this is. All different models of simulated sounds to give me that organ feel. I like the direct cabinet sound, and I keep these settings so I can hear a nice, comfortable organ sound. Got a key click. Let me bring it up just a little bit because I love that click sound. Not too much sustain. Don't like too much overdrive because it gets kind of crackly. But if I were doing an actual production, what is what I use this software for, if I want a particular sound of the organ, if I'm doing creating an actual track or working with someone who has done something, then it allows me to emulate what that particular sound would sound like. Let's see, let's pull up something else. Awesome God. Trying different approaches to it. Now I'm hearing the overdrive kicking in just a bit here with me. I'm not sure if you're hearing it. It kind of bothers me, so I'm turning down the overdrive just a bit. It's making it kind of grungy. That's why I want it nice and clean. That classical sound. There it is. Gotta hear these changes in your head. Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me. All right, so bring up a little more. It's hard when you're not on the real organ. I'm fighting with my chair, which keeps losing its size. Same notes I use on the piano, the same notes I use on the organ. Again, the organ lets you hold an actual sustained note. That note won't fall out where a piano would. I can hold that chord there and give it a nice bottom. Something about the sound of an organ. How much for the simulated organ? Can you tell more about the software? Been a long time since I used software like that. Well, buddy, this is the Native Instrument Hammond B4. Came out about, I want to say 2008, 2009. I have to go look back at my software. Native Instrument disbanded making this software because they moved on to different versions. This was a 32-bit software program, and because everyone is now in the actual 64-bit range, they chose not to upgrade the software to work in the 64-bit range with all of the different digital audio workstations. So I keep this because it's, to me, I've heard the other simulated organs. This is still the best to me. They did two versions of it. They had the first version, then they did the B4 2. I have both the original and the upgrade versions. Still as you can hear, tremendous sounding simulated organ. And when you're doing music productions, the organ is not the lead instrument anyway, but you do want it to, if you don't have one like I do, here in my basement, it's just me and all of this equipment that sounds like an organ without having one. But it gives me from a look standpoint, I can look at drawbars and how they're seated, and then listen to how the settings I would normally do on a real organ, and it does sound nice in productions. Now, what I have done is I've did some. I guess I've used two computers. I use one that has this software on it, and then I would feed that audio into another computer so I can have this sound. And I did buy the is it Native Instruments I bought? Yeah, I did buy the Native Instruments 64-bit package, which has a different organ in it, which is nowhere near the sound of this one. And there are other vendors out there that have their own versions of it, which, again, it's all dependent upon what you're actually playing it through. If you have this software, you have got a gold mine. Now, it does run in Windows 10. There were times with some of the upgrades it didn't, and I was mad, but then they did some upgrading, more upgrades, and it did work. Right now, I'm still running Windows 10 on a PC, of course, Windows PC, and it's working just fine. It's very stable, does not crash at all. And actually, if you still have that version if you do still have it, it also runs on the Mac. So I have it running on my Mac also. So as a standalone, it won't run with my latest Pro Tools, but it will run with my Pro Tools 9. Again, I kept upgrading until I just stopped at, I think I stopped at 10 or 11. But it's still, and again, as you can see, I'm still having a ball with it. I have Roland PK5 foot pedals. I've had these foot pedals for 15 years, and they're still functioning. I haven't damaged them in a sense by banging them with my feet, and they're still functional for what I use them for. I want that bottom for the bass. Let's adjust that, some of those highs out of the bass. There we go. Bring a little muddy. Have my bass on the bottom. So I still have the actual simulated feel of an organ from my ear standpoint, and for when I'm doing productions that I require to have a nice organ sound in there. Let's see, what haven't I not done? Oh, Waymaker. I haven't done a Waymaker in the key of E. I haven't done that. I've done it on piano, but I haven't done that on the organ. It's done in E maker. Let me see. Okay, because I not a fan of four chord songs. I always try to, if I were going to write it, how would I have chorded around four chords? So I haven't done it on the organ yet. So I'm actually doing it now. I'm working on it. In my head, I'm thinking where the notes are going. There it is. Still trying to stay in the vein of the song. Now, E major is not a fancy key. I'm listening on a Valentino 10, so no bass, but still sounds fantastic. Oh, Phil, thank you. I always question how it sounds on just about any venue. I'm sure when people are home, I have six speakers. I have 6 speakers hooked up to my PC, so and I have an actual subwoofer, so I sort of cheat as to what kind of sound I want to hear. But when I listen on my iPad and when I listen to the headphones, I say, okay, that's what I want to hear. It's the fullness of what I'm doing. B, D minor. Get a little gospel there. All right. So I've got those. I've got that reference now to look at changing some of the settings. Let's see what else I got left here. Oh, Thomas Whitfield. All I need. Welcome, Charles, and welcome, Telvin, from South Africa. Change the tone. Ow, drop my mouse. I do have a M Audio keyboard, which allows me to adjust the drawbars on the fly. But in where I've got this keyboard set up, I don't have it here. I will be going stationary with that, with another keyboard once I've got a good setting for these sounds. Now I need a little bit more. A little more. There it is. This is the one thing organists do, because you can have so many tones that you can pick from. Whatever you hear in your head, there we go. Just brought the organ up a little bit. Eyes up a little bit. All right. Brought the organ up a little bit higher so I can, again, find a happy spot. I don't want it to overdrive, but then I want you to be able to not have to turn the volume up. Your volume up so high to be able to hear it. All right. Charles Local. I'm a piano beginner from my dream. From my dream. Oh, it's to play like me, Charles. I want you to play like you. I sound like every organist or every pianist I've ever heard in my life. So I have um, no point of reference to say that this is what I sound like. It depends upon the song I'm playing. If I'm playing a Thomas Whitfield song, I sound like Thomas Whitfield. If I'm playing a Timothy Wright song, I sound like Timothy Wright. If I'm playing a Kirk Franklin song, I'm going to sound like the musician who played on Kirk Franklin's. I try to sound like whatever song I'm learning, so that I can almost say that I was in the actual rehearsal or on the actual production, because I want to be able to not mimic what they were doing, but to be a replica of what they did. So when I play, I'm drawing from 40, almost 50 years of music that I've heard. Even if I've heard something played in a movie theme music, I'm actually drawing from that. Whatever I hear, I absorb, I practice, and then I merely add it to everything I'm doing so that I can pick and choose what chords I want to play. I often ask young musicians to play for me Mary Had a Little Lamb, just to see whether or not they have a good understanding of their scale notes. And they'll ask, well, what key you want it in? I say, well, put it in C. If they hit the first note correct, I know they practice their scales. If they're searching for the first note of Mary Had a Little Lamb, I know they don't practice their scales, because it always starts on the third. Always on the third. What's the third? 1, 2, 3. Whatever key you're in. Whatever key you're in. Whatever key you pick, the third note of that scale is where Mary Had a Little Lamb starts. If I go to A flat, if I go to A, if I go to G flat, if I go to E major, I should know how to start Mary Had a Little Lamb, just the scale alone. When you get a love of doing this, not only does it make your hands move quicker and fluidly, but it trains your ear to hear notes and to hear chords. And that's the upbringing that I had, not as a piano player, but as a musician who was trained who was trained in the theory of music, and I apply that to everything that I do musically. Let me just change some of these now so I can hear a little different tone. And I picked Mary Had a Little Lamb for a purpose. Again, I want to hear them do this. Little lamb, little lamb. Now, if you can do that, I'll say put it in 2-part harmony, because now I'm testing your ear. Then I say, okay, good. Put it in 3-part harmony. Now I'm really testing your ear. Can you hear 3 parts? Then I say, okay, now turn it into a gospel song. You go, what do you mean? Gospel is 7ths, minor 6s, diminished, and what's the third chord phrasing they use? Let's see, major, minor, diminished, minor 6s, right? That's the gospel sound, which is a bunch of jazz chords, basically. It's your diminished chord. Oh, sorry, 7th chord. There's your 7th chord. Your diminished. There's your minor 6. Your 7th. Your 7th. Your 7th chord. 7th, minor 6. So once I hear a musician is able to get to that point, then I tell them you don't need me anymore, because you now know how to play gospel. Apply those chords to any gospel song that you hear, and you hear them used. Now, when you start getting into this real contemporary, off-the-wall stuff, that's when you got to start learning all those diminished, augmented 7s with a minor 13th and a dominant 12th. All that stuff sounds impressive to me. I'm like, well, play it and put it in a song and impress me that way. Just knowing what it's called is good, but can you use it in any song? Not everything is appropriate when you're playing. So I would say, Charles, as a beginner piano player, invest in a beginner piano book that teaches you this. correct way, and be able to do that in every key the correct way. In every key, without hesitation, and be able to go back with it. I'm gonna mess up. No, I'm gonna mess up. D flat and C. Be able to do that without messing up like I just did, and then do it in octaves all the way. That does one thing: trains your hands to be able to move. Because if you can't do this, you haven't got flexibility in your hands, then playing a piano is going to be hard. Not just one hand, but in both hands. For hours I did this because no one told me that there was an easier way to do this. There we go. A, B flat, B, and finally back to C. No one told me why I had to practice that. I had to discover it myself, that practicing trains my ear to hear the difference between this note and that note and that note. And when you can hear that difference, when you hear me do this, all those notes I just played, but they're in different spots of the keyboard. And as I say, when you're playing an instrument, especially a piano, you can't play every note at the same time. It sounds horrible, but you have to know which notes not to play to give you the sound you want. Yeah, I could just one. There it is. All that from, just watch my mic on the red, sorry about that. All that from practicing scales. I just go by here, but I want to do it the right way. Oh, Sean, same here. Yes, Sean, I'm all by ear. I didn't have an actual piano teacher sit down with me and show me this. I was a French horn player, mellophone player in high school, and I was and I was part of a jazz band, so I heard music all around my head. So when you hear me play, it's though I'm still in the middle where the French horns or the mellophone sat, and every other instrument is around me. So I know where the bottom was. I'm here in the middle. The trumpets and the saxophones, the E-flat saxophones, and the clarinets were up top. So when I play, I know where melody is. I know where my chords are. I know where the bass is. So when I play, I am mimicking every sound that I was trained to hear in theory as a instrumentalist. I'll make sure I'm not missing all your comments here. Okay, I got them. So it's music. This is what I'm attempting to do, is to foster a training site using YouTube to be able to assist musicians who did not have don't have the availability of an actual instructor. Again, I'm not going to teach you to be me, but I will teach you to be the best you by giving you sound instruction. No, I won't say, oh, you should be able to do this in 7 days. No, you won't. I will say, if you practice and you look at what you're doing and you listen to what you're doing and you get comfortable, not a song, just an exercise, which helps to train your ears. You learn how to move your hands across the keys in syncopation with one hand, with the left hand. And you will get a feel for what a piano sounds like, the notes you can find on the piano or keyboard or an organ, whatever you're playing on, and as you're learning songs, how you can apply. Now, what I just did there is not a song, but I can use it in a song. And that's all. I do things like that so that if I need to pull something or throw that into a song that I'm doing, it's not an issue for me. Is the bass moving chromatically and the right hand using chords that fits it? Whirlybird. It's where I'm placing it. If I was doing this chord, it has a D flat, F, G, and a B flat. I'm omitting the G and moving it to where the lower note is. So instead of here, now I'm here. I've expanded that chord, given it a different tone, and just following. If I were doing this, now I'm just following it down chromatically because I'm using it to get to a place. Most guys go, I want to go drop down. Gotta buy me a new chair too. I want to be able to, as I hear it in my head, that's the change I want to use. I could just go straight down. It's all a matter of preference of where you want to go with the music and how you want to get there. My bass foot pedal is doing and it's all preference. Where are you looking to go with the music? If it's just chords, then that's what it is, just chords. But if you're applying it to a melody or within a pattern of chords, then it's something pretty. You don't want to do it. You don't want every song to be like this. I'll go up. Yeah. So it's just another thing that I learned from practicing to be able to, if I want to use it in a song, if I heard it used in a song, I learn how they use it, and then I implement that into an actual practice session. Everything I do is what I practice. When you see me do this, that's because I practice playing in C, You see, C. I would just do that, knowing that the thumb is, everything turns on the thumb. The thumb has got to land correct. If the thumb misses, it messes up everything else. That's why learning this is so important. Your thumb needs to know how to be here when it's time. If you messed up, now you've lost where it's going to land, and you get that. But if the thumb can turn, basically cross underneath, what it's doing is crossing underneath. Is blocking the bass foot pedal movement. Is there a way to move the virtual keyboard to the top of the screen? Yes, there is. I know. I don't think people want to watch my foot pedal because you're not getting my actual foot. But yes, I can move the virtual piano. I can. Let's see. There we go. My virtual foot pedals. Let's see if I can expand that. I can't get any higher, bigger than that. That's as high as I go. C to C, 13 pedals. Yeah, so that's my virtual foot pedals, and as you can see, I worked hard to get comfortable playing my foot pedals so that they can do exactly what my left hand was doing on the piano. So I can think G flat G, A flat A, B flat B, octave C, lower octave C, E flat, B flat, D flat, A flat, E, A, D, G, F, and my feet knows where to go, knows the range of them. That's only because I practice on a real Hammond. Sorry about that. I'm kicking my feet pedal out of the way. Because I practice on a real Hammond. Octave too high. I practice on a real Hammond, so I know how and the positioning where my feet should be. Now, of course, I'm sitting on a comfortable chair and not an actual bench, which is probably what I should be sitting on. But this is sort of a working out the kinks video. But normally I would have been on a bench so that my feet could be, so I can be situated in one place. I hope that gives you the point of view that you're looking to see. If not how I thought it would be, if so, a couple others in the scene where your hands go, then you can put the virtual keyboard back. Well, oh no, not a problem. I just remembered from when I was first trying this months ago, because they couldn't see my hands, physical hands, just the notes on the organ playing. They couldn't tell what fingers I was using. So I said I would try to remedy that by giving them a virtual look at my keyboard, which shows my hands. I could probably just do something like, let's see, we only get an octave, so we could probably do this. There we go. Since we only get up to C, I could probably do this, change my position. So yeah, I appreciate your input there. It gives me an idea of just to move the keyboard where it's at there, and leave a space for only the 13 notes that can be seen from my foot pedals. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. Let's see. Any other questions? You've given me some great feedback. I've just changed the setting, which will stay automatic. I may just see, bring this to where. Yeah, bring that to there so you still see. Okay, right there. Bring this up a little bit so you see my hands a little fuller. I don't have two manuals here, so you don't see both manuals shown. That's the question. If you're learning a new song, do you practice in most keys as you are learning? No, what I do is I learn the song in the key that it was written in, number one. When I was a musician and I was going to present it to the choir, I had to gauge whether or not their voices can meet the actual dynamics of the song. So if I found that if the song was too high for my highest soprano and my altos are basically gasping for air, then I could lower the key by 4 tones and then play it because I've already learned it in one key. Like you saw me practicing Waymaker in the key of E. Because I practice it in E, I know it's only 4 chords. I could play it in any other key. It's written in this key. Let me change these sounds. It's written in the key. I want to do that. I messed that up. We'll fix that back. Waymaker is written in the key of E, but because I know it's only 4 chords, let me see. Which is really, it was written kind of low. It was written for a male voice and not for sopranos because they really be screaming in that song. I could lower it down to D flat. Because I know where it's going. all get to heaven in C as a slow sentimental piece. Sing a wondrous joy of. Used to know those words, not by heart, but I always knew the first verse of it. Sing the wondrous in the key of C. I'm messing with the wrong thing here. All right. Just want to change some of these sounds. C. Love of Jesus, sing His mercy. When we pour. There's your diminished chord. Is that slow enough as a sentimental piece? I mean, I know with all the funerals I've done in my past, everybody sings it like they're running to get out of service. And I always try to temper the speed so people can sing it correctly, at least without running out of breath. And I like all the verses. Alright. Phone call in a second. Hello.
Hello.
I'm on YouTube. What's up?
Oh, I didn't know you was on YouTube. All right, call me later. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Somewhere something is live and it shouldn't be. Who's live here? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Got a live mic somewhere. I'm not supposed to have a live one. You're live. One, 2, 3. All right. That was good to know. I wasn't supposed to have a live mic on. It's going to affect the overall sound going through. Took that live mic off. It should be just me now. And the keyboard. Glad my daughter called. So, what was the most challenging thing for you to overcome as a musician, and what would you have any advice on? How could master playing gospel music as a keyboard player? I'm trying to say your name correctly, but I'm messing it up. Bakiskawaka, if I said that correctly. The most challenging thing as a musician I had was playing alone. When I was an instrumentalist, I played within a band, so I wasn't the lead musician. When I first started to play, I was a piano player behind an organist, so I wasn't the lead musician. When I became the lead musician, my very first Sunday, I froze on the first song because I was waiting for someone else to start it, and then I naturally joined in. It wasn't until then that I overcame my fear of that by constant preparation. The only way to overcome a fear of playing as a musician is to prepare. Now, you see me playing now here on YouTube, if though it's natural for me, that's because I would sit and practice every song I had to learn for any particular Sunday the night before, so that I was prepared. I knew what key, I knew all the voices of the alto soprano voice. I knew all their voices. I knew the intro. I knew any cuts. I knew how to end it, and I would practice just that, so that when Sunday came, I was prepared. The hardest part of being a church musician is when a guest soloist comes in and you don't know them and they don't know you, and you trying to figure out, well, what song are they going to sing? Let it be something easy. And for the most part, there were maybe 4 or 5 songs every soloist would sing because they were a little bit kind to the musician. But when it was something that you never knew before, you hate to get that look where they turn to you and they hold out a fist like this, which means stop playing. I'm gonna sing an acapella. I know that feeling. I know exactly what that feels like, and I always try to gauge if the person who is going to be singing is a male or female, what range that they sing in. Tenors sing always, I won't say male singers, or tenors or baritones always sing around B flat to D flat. Altos usually sing from D flat to E flat because we're the highest note. Sopranos can be anywhere from D flat to F, depending upon the song and their actual skill set. So if say, and everybody used to always sing "His Eyes on the Sparrow," I would listen to how the person is speaking, and then I would try to put them in the key because I know how high the highest note in I. His eyes on the sparrow. I left out a word there. So that's A flat. G, F. So I know the highest note. I say because I'm free. That's the highest note in His Eyes on the Sparrow in the key of A flat. So if that's an alto voice that I can gauge, because I used to love for them to talk, then I know I'm not going to start them in A flat. I'm going to start them down in F. Every alto believes they're a soprano, and that is a myth. They're not. They're an alto, and they don't know their alto, the power an alto singer has to sing in this range of singing. Sopranos scream, altos sing, unless of course you're a actual mezzo soprano. You can hit those notes without even thinking about it. But altos, their voice resonates here in the middle between C and F, and if they would learn to sing in these notes right here, they can control any song. I see, for I'm free. A above middle C is good for an alto. Because they can go, they have a headroom now. And I know for an alto, C above middle C is where they should be. He watches, he watches over me. So I can work with an alto singer, an alto voice, I'll put it like that. Do I have a favorite key? I have favorite keys depending upon what song it is. Most time when I begin to practice, I can be anywhere from F to A flat to E flat to G flat. Very rarely B, A, or D when I start to practice. But usually here. Yeah. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah. All the notes are found in the D major scale when I start to practice, because I want to be able to land on these notes when I begin to practice. That lets me know that I'm in sync. Which the hardest notes to land on are the black keys. But you've got to be aligned. I align myself with middle C. Now I'm in the organ mode, so middle C is really here on an organ. But because I'm in front of a piano, I align myself. My body is aligned here. My pivot point is right here. So anything above here is for the right hand. Anything below here is for the left hand. They clash at times, yes, but in the world of the piano, that clashing is good because it gives you a different sound. For the organ, it sounds too muddy when you get below middle C. That's very muddy. So this becomes the actual midpoint for an organ sound. So I'll work from this range only because I'm in an organ mode. I'm not going to do the octave transpose where I can do an octave transpose and change everything. Now I just changed everything. I just did an octave transpose on my keyboard, shifted everything down. So now middle C is here. Put it back to where it was. But because I understand that from practicing, it doesn't bother me. Can you play Going Up Yonder? Oh, excuse me, go back. Do you ever reharmonize songs on the go? Or do you usually stick to the traditional way of playing? In theory, I play a song how the original person wrote it. Now, if it's a hymn, just my foot pedals again. If it's a hymn, I will stick. Melody will be dominant. If you hear most of the song I'm playing, you will hear melody as on top, the dominant. Then every chord underneath the melody, I have a license to where I want to go with it. You just said, what was it? King Big Shot just asked about Going Up Yonder. I learned Going Up Yonder when it first came out. It's in D flat. So I learned Going Up Yonder when it first came out. So I will play it like it sounds like on the album, the same changes that they used. But if I'm playing the song, I will begin to make changes. My change. My change. My change. Thomas Whitfield chord. I have to be careful sometimes how much of a song I play because YouTube does shut me down. They do that. So I can only play a little bit of a song. I don't know which ones they're after me on. Lately they've been after all the songs I do. So I try to stay around the hymns. But yes, I will reharmonize, but I will always play it the correct way first. And then if the song is a natural continuing song, it's like sprinkling extra pepper on your food. It's already seasoned, but if you want a little bit of extra pepper, you add it. Once you put it there, you can't take it off. So once it's played through, if I didn't like it, I won't do it again. These are very, very good questions, things that that I like sharing, because I want you to feel like you're not inhibited by your own skill set. The more skills you learn, especially in music, the more that you can apply. Yes, you have hit songwriters who play 4 or 5 chords in a song. I'm not there. I'm listening for how they can do that, because I have songs I've written in my big band sound, and I can't seem to get a hearing from them. But a song that has 4 chords can get 21 million views if you got the right person singing it. So I listen to everything. I listen to the old modern jazz. I listen to Art Tatum, um, George Duke, Winston Marsalis on the trumpet, I believe. Um, Corey Henry, certainly, I do listen to him. I watched him play when he was 3 years old, and my mouth dropped like everybody else. Um, Anything I can listen to where I can apply theory to what they're playing, then it's got my ear. Is learning the organ essentially different from learning the piano? Yes, it is. The piano is a more difficult instrument to play, in the sense that if you hit one note, you've got to continually hit that note in order to keep it sounding. An organ, as long as you hold your finger there, it's going to stay there, and it will never change. You can basically just rest your hand on that note, and it'll always play as long as you're playing it. A piano, you got to keep on hitting it, and you got to hit it in a certain way. If you want a certain sound, you have to strike it the same pitch each time that you play it. That's the long and short of it. Piano is a more difficult instrument. You have more keys on the piano than you do an organ. Organ, I believe, has I want to say it's 61. Let me look. Let me count octaves. 8, 8, 8, 8. 4 sets of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets. 76 keys, I think it is. I'm just counting from the keyboard that's up there. No, that's 76. Gotta be 61. Where piano has 88 keys, and all of them have to be struck a certain way each time that you play to get the sound you want out of it. I know that you look at the organ and you say, well, it's got 2 manuals, it's got drawbars, it's got foot pedals. I learned the organ first, but I also had a piano as a backup instrument. When I couldn't get on the organ, I got on the piano. When the organ was free, then I spent hours on the organ, understanding what the heel and toe method is on the foot pedals, how to mimic my left hand with the foot pedal, how to form chords while the notes don't fade out on me. Because the notes don't fade out on me, I can hold it a lot longer. Making that change. Just want to change some of these tones. I can hold it a lot longer. I could eliminate notes and build a chord without having to keep striking it. So the organ allowed me to hear more than what I can hear. Piano has one sound, the sound of piano. An organ has many sounds depending upon how you pull the drawbars out. Now, you say, well, then why isn't the organ harder to learn than the piano? Because the piano makes you work. You have to think about every note you play. An organ, you can make a mistake and pull that note away and nobody will know it. They think you're supposed to do that. With a piano, you got to rethink your fingering. Let's see, can I pull it? I should be able to do this. Okay, I can't pull the piano up because I'm using this keyboard to play the organ. So it has locked up my keyboard. But the piano is a beast to learn. But once you've learned it, like riding a bike, unless of course you get carpal tunnel, which thank God I've never had any trouble with my hands, and I'm 64 years old now. I've been striking a piano over 50 years easily, but striking it in a way which is the correct way, not like this, but like this. So I never put any stress, but I never put any stress on my wrist or in my knuckles because I played like a spider crawls, and that's the way you should be able to play. On the top, let me do this. You should be play up, and your fingers like that. If you're doing this, you're putting stress on this wrist because you're making it stop when it shouldn't as it hits the piano. And you're putting all that stress in here. For those musicians that say, oh, I can practice for 2 hours and my hands are hurting. Well, first of all, you're practicing wrong. And the second of all, you shouldn't be practicing for 2 hours. Respect the fact that this is not a piece of wood or piece of metal that once damaged, it takes a while for it to recover. But I would always tell a musician, start on the piano first. Learn where the notes are. And then if you have an organ, you can practice off on the side. Do 45 minutes on the piano and 15 minutes on the organ. You make the obvious mistake when playing. How do you cover it up? You consider it a mistake. Now, do concert pianists make mistakes? I've listened to children 4 and 5 years old playing Mozart fluently. And I go, that's not me. I can't do that. I wasn't a child prodigy that just sat down and heard something or was taught something and could play note for note off a piece of sheet music and not miss a note. But that child had to practice somewhere, somehow, for some amount of hours with someone over them. I don't think they just started playing and looking at sheet music and playing the notes in front of them. If they are, then that is the natural gift that I wasn't gotten it. But the average listener of music does not hear a mistake. It's only the musicians. If you got a musician out there, and I think this is what a lot of problems that a lot of young musicians have when they're playing amongst other musicians, they'll make a mistake, and the other musicians will start giggling and laughing and snickering because they know there was a mistake made, but the person in the audience listening don't. Plenty of times I made a mistake on a song. So minute I hit the note, I knew it was wrong. I knew it was the wrong key. But I would try to play out of it and not make that same mistake again. Sometimes I'll be wanting to throw something, a change that I've been working on for weeks, and I try to put it in the song, and then I mess it up. Then I don't go back to it. I'll say, you know what? You weren't ready to use that change in that song. I go back, and you do your most learning when you're home practicing. When you come out to, when I use the term perform, you perform a service of music, that's not the time to practice. You should have did your practicing at home. If I want to do that running the song, I don't wait till I'm there on Sunday. Oh, now I'm going to do this. No, I should have been practicing that at home and be able to nail it at home so that when I'm in the song, I'm prepared. I know it's coming up. I know where I'm going to place it. It won't be in the place of the choir singing. It may be just an interlude. And now the song begins, because in the intro, I had an opportunity to put that in there. Most times I don't, though, because I've always learned when I was a church musician, it wasn't about me. It was about the sung word coming forth. You don't do that kind of stuff on a hymn. You may do it on a concert where you're free to do anything you want. But yes, if you make an obvious mistake when playing, how do you cover it up? You just play through it. You don't stop. You don't sit there and go, oh man, I messed up. And everybody's wondering what's going on with the musician. No, if I started in the wrong key plenty of times on a song, and I go, wait a minute, that's not the right key, because my fingering don't match where the melody is going. Then I go, oh, then I would come right out of it. Usually if you're doing a hymn, and I'll do this. If I'm playing a hymn for the first time, I'll look at it. I'll sight read because I can sight read, and I'll look for the highest note. And I'll go, you know what? That's too high for the congregation. That's too high for the choir members I have. Let me transpose it on the fly. And I would do it on the fly. I would look at a song that's written in A major. What was that song? Love all dwelling. When I saw that was the highest note, C sharp above middle C, I said, you know what? Let me drop the key down to A. Because I know where the melody is going. It's just a scale with notes. And the chords support that scale with notes. I can change it and put it in any key. Missing a note. Let's see. There we go. Something stuck underneath the foot pedal. So when you practice, what do you practice? I practice everything. Everything you see me doing is what I practice. Just because I don't play for a church anymore doesn't mean I don't still practice. I have a routine. I would always warm up with scales to free the hands so they can't be tight. I would select a song that I would consider one that I like to play, and I would put it in the key that I play it in, and then play it in another key. Then when I had to, I'll use this as an example. When I had to learn hymns, I would pull a book out, a hymnal, find that hymn, sight read. You were talking about when we all get to heaven. I just opened up to that page, 594, in the African American Heritage Hymnal. I would sight read. Let me see. It's in the key of C. Practice. Keep sucking. 1, 2, 3. The sight read. Way too high for singers. Sight read. This keeps me in syncopation of scales and being able to apply that also. Then I will look at the alto part. Bright and feather. Oh, in the. I need the melody to make sure I'm playing the correct note in the right place. And I would discipline myself. Again, I was trained to be a French horn player. I need to see notes in front of me in any kind of a practice session that I'm having. I realize a lot of musicians don't have this discipline. I was a disciplined musician as a French horn player. I needed to have notes in front of me so I knew what song we were playing, where my part was. how it sounds. So these are the things I would practice. I still do it today. I've written songs that when I put it out, I transcribed it to sheet music. When I put it out in front of me, I have to read that. I mean, I can say, "Oh, I know how it goes," but I want to read what I wrote to see if that's how it sounds. How it sounds. That's part of my practice session. As you can see, I practice open chords. Not just in one key, but in every key. Patterns, chords, what I call chords, patterns, and runs. These are the things that I practice, not necessarily a song, just practicing to keep my, you might say, uh, keep a natural perspective on what I've learned in the past. Then if I have to learn a song, I'll tear that song apart uh, from every instrument that's playing and learn to do it exactly the way they did it. Let's see. I watched a video of Herbie Hancock recounting an experience he had when he was playing with Miles Davis, and he played a chord. There was an obvious mistake. He stopped in shock. I think I read that one where I think Miles Davis heard the wrong note, but tailored his playing to match that wrong chord, and he was surprised that he heard it wrong. Number one, and secondly, was able to tailor his playing to match that wrong chord. Well, see, he was playing with someone who was obviously looking for they practiced to be a certain chord. The minute he heard the wrong chord, as a musician, he said, well, "I'm not going to make him look bad." And I'm speaking from a layman's term. I've never been in a group of musicians that that would cover for another musician if an error was made. I've played with other musicians when they've when their level or skill set did not match what the song was. I did not try to outdo them, but I tried to do what I'm supposed to do as a musician and play to whatever is as a musician, support whatever if a musician is playing this chord, I'm not going to play this chord and say, "Hey, you're playing the wrong chord." If that's what he heard and it fits, that's what I will play, knowing that if I had a chance to play it, I would play the major, not the sixth chord. It's all about respecting where respecting the realm of playing with other musicians. But and the other question, how often do I practice? I've gone 2 weeks without playing. If I'm working hard and I'm coming home late, I won't touch the keyboard. Then I can sit down and pick up where I left off because, as I say, like riding a bicycle, you don't forget how to practice or how to play. It's something that I can look at a song like I'm looking at the words to the song "As the Deer," and I know it's in E flat. I can put it in B. I can put it in D. I can put it in E. I can put it in F. Because I know where the melody is going. I know the chords that are available in every key I might put it in, and I know the patterns that would fit or that would support that song, any song basically that I practice. And that's what I do. I learn it in the key it's in, and then I practice it in other keys because you never know when someone will sing that song who's not a natural alto or natural tenor or soprano, and they'll sing to where they're comfortable, and you got to be able to, as a musician, support what they're doing. Well, I've been here a long time, I think, longer than I expected. I want to see how long I've been on. I certainly do appreciate all the comments. How do you get fluent in every key like that, Myron? Practicing. Now you will get from all the musicians. They'll tell you, "Oh man, if you just practice, you get good," but they never tell you what to practice, and that's the fault I have with musicians that tell musicians who have questions, well, how do you get good? And they say, oh, you just got to practice and God will give it to you. No, I practiced because it wasn't given to me. I had to work for it. But I understood. I had the theory behind me. Um, you get fluent in every key by, yes, learning the scales. Here's 2 scales I say you should learn. There are many, but these 2 gets you through any gospel song. The major scale and the harmonic minor scale. There's that change. Those 2 scales get you through 90% of the gospel songs out there because they use one of those 2 scales. Then you know your triad chords, 3 chords, right? And the inversions, not just in the major, but in the minor, the diminished. Now that you got 4 chords, you're going to have four notes, you're going to have 4 chords. Your 7th chords, I'll throw a major 7th in there because these are used. Your minor 6s, what did I leave out? Got the minor 6 in. Oh, your 6th chord also. You learn those chords in every key and then begin to use them in songs, number 1, that use those chords, and then in songs that don't use them so that you can get an understanding if they fit or why they don't fit before you learn this. Let me see. There we go. There's so many chords I see other guys playing that people don't have this reach. If you don't have this reach, then you'll be frustrated that you'll never be able to play that chord. They don't tell you, omit the thumb and pick it up with your right hand. Same sound. But they won't show you that. They'll show you, they'll show you that they can hit it, but they won't tell you how you can hit it if you don't have that range. And again, if you have an understanding of the scale, you hear the notes. You will take out the notes that you don't hear. You hear 3 notes, and now if you can't reach that, it took me a while to get this comfortable. You use your thumb on the other hand to reach that one and finish it out. And by just practicing what you want to play or what you want to hear, then you can use it in any key. And you'll hear me do a lot of that. I don't have this reach, but I do have this reach. And that's what practicing did for me. Hearing what I wanted to play, not necessarily seeing it, because most musicians back in my day wouldn't show me anything. Welcome, Safi from the Philippines. Most musicians would not show me what they were doing, but I could hear what they were doing and go home and try to emulate it as best as a 13 or 14-year-old could, until I got sat in an actual jazz band and got to hear the tones that every instrument had. And me being in the middle area, my voicing for my instrument was from here to here. Yeah, we'll go to here, the highest note. So you hear me play a lot in this area because this is where my natural tone, C in the middle, well, middle C. Let me change the octave. That's where I am. That's where Most of the videos you see me play, I'm in this area playing because I'm more comfortable hearing tones here, and then I'll branch out. But I'll stay right here in the middle. Want to make sure I get everybody's questions, so I'm going to look back on some of these questions. As I say, I don't have a favorite key. I have keys that I practice in, and then if I'm learning a new song in another key, I will learn it in that key. Let's see. Playing close. Do you mean having my hands so close when I'm actually playing? If that's what you mean, I want to say Sophia from Safai. Please forgive me if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. From being a piano player, again, middle C normally is my normal place to play from. I try not to go too far into this range. Of course, if you're going like this on a piano, then you're going to switch over to the ranges. And I try not to go too far down to the bottom. And if I do, I've learned how to color chord down. Now, by color chord is going down rather than this. I'm doing this rather than this. Almost as though I'm playing in choir voicing. And if it gets too much in the mud, I'll just change the key to a much higher key. And it's all the same concept. How do you practice your left hand to be able to play separate from your right hand? I make sure that the left hand minds its place and that it knows how to move. By having them both practice at the same time, and they have to be able to work together. If one is going 2 or 1, and this is practicing, hearing 2 notes at the same time, and knowing when you're not playing it right. Minor, 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 major, major, minor, minor, major. And I'm just thinking in my head what I'm doing. Minor, left hand minor, stay here on G but drop to the minor, 7, and the major. And I'm calling out those chord names because that's what I want to hear. I want to hear major sound, I want to hear minor sound. Remember my harmonic minor? go. And then I can fit a chord in that scale. My left hand is still uncomfortable by doing those shapes. I can do it with my right. Then you have to train it to do it. Do this. And have the right hand follow the left. And you train them both at the same time to be able to think. Take a chord, split it. Now, that sounds horrible like that. That's why I always like the too low. It's all about practicing and what to practice. Scales are not supposed to be boring if you add more to it. If you do that all day, that's boring. But if you do this, still a scale, but what if I added to it chords? When you begin to fill your plate full of patterns, full of all the chords that are available to you, or the ones I gave you are enough to give you 90% of the gospel songs out there. And then if you don't have a practice regimen, you can always ask me. You can send me a question to soundofjoy@gmail.com. I have a workbook I created back in 2009 when I was doing online lessons, and I still have that workbook. I've shared with others on this page of the exercises you see me doing right now. I wrote them in there purposely to give you something to practice. A musician should never say, I've run out of things to practice. There's too much music out there to run out of anything to practice. If you could play the Oscar Mayer Wiener song, A flat. You play those in B flat. Just a melody, but it's in scales. Put the chords to it. Put a turnaround in it. Those are the kind of things I practiced as a youngster. Anything that had music attached to it, I would practice. Try to create something out of basically something that was simple. Fingering for the left hand, that's also in that workbook I created. You need to know the correct fingering. For the left hand, you need to know the correct fingering, because if you know how to move your hands, playing with the right hand will not be an issue. He'll be doing a lot of minor chords, because usually the left hand is supporting a chord that the right hand is doing. I do a lot of minor chords because that's what I would practice. As far as doing chords that would help the left hand to become more comfortable playing with the right hand. Bum, bum, bum. Da, da. But I can do major also. So I practiced a lot of things to help get the left hand comfortable. That sounds like Jesus, Jesus, precious name, I know. Oh, every time I feel the Spirit, that's an old spiritual. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will play. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart. Yes, I learned spirituals, anthems, gospel, contemporary gospel, urban gospel. The stuff out there now is just too easy, but I learned everything that had music attached to it exactly the way it was played on an album. What time frame, in your opinion, is average should one spend on learning the basics? No more than 45 minutes to start. You don't want to get discouraged as a beginner. Know that music is an adventure. It's a journey, not an adventure. I understand the people who say if you learn the bass and the number system, you got it. You got the bass and the number system. That's all you got. You got the bass note and a 1, a 6, a 4, and a 5. And yes, there are songwriters who have hit songs with just that. I'm not one of them. Maybe I should have come up during that time when I maybe I could be one of them. But I was brought up in the age of music and a lot of instrumentalists doing a lot of different things. I was part of an orchestral jazz band where we had violins and we had horns and we had flutes and we had trombones and trumpets. I was on the French horn, and we had one large stand-up bass. So our teacher immersed us in songs like the 1812 Overture, where I got to hear learn to be a part of an actual historical theme song, the 1812 Overture. And as a French horn, I had the opening part. I had the opening part. Still remember this? So my background is orchestral, classical, jazz, big band sound. So when I play, that's what you hear coming out of me. As a beginning musician, you are a blank slate. You can be any musician you want to be. It's all a matter of what you feed into yourselves. Just want to be all the questions that are coming out. I'm a pianist. I play for Amy Church. I play piano well. Just one question: why is it so hard for me to learn how to play the organ? Jabo, if you were trained to be a piano player, then that's your natural instrument. I wasn't trained to be either a pianist or an organist. I just wanted to be able to play it well. So I had a desire whenever I sat down to either a piano. I didn't have keyboards back in my day. We had either an upright piano in the house or an organ. My father was a Hammond organ repairman. So when he would bring one into the store to be fixed, I was like the tester to see if it sounded okay. Doing what I can at 13 and 14 years old. But the desire was to be able to get the sound out of it I've heard others do. If you have a structure of playing the piano, you can bring that structure to the organ. Just watch where your note placement is. As I say, on an organ, you may be used to playing in this range. On a piano, you may have to switch your range up for an organ because of the I'm not sure if you got an Allen organ or pipe organ where you have 8 16-foot notes, 32-foot notes. That sound all muddy when you get down here. You have to move into a range where you can use that same piano structure that you use and play songs that you are familiar with. If you play Blessed Assurance in D major, it is written in D major in most hymnals. Do the same thing on an organ, except for now you're going to throw in a bass pedal. Now, of course, I do jazz chords. Once you've got the basics down, which is what you do now on the piano, you can begin to add the flavoring or the coloring of the tones or the richness of classical or jazz sounds. Same melody, but now you're just adding more and filling in some of the places where there's basically air in the music. 4 chords is all you need now to write a song. Back then, progressions were different in every song. They were. I think you had more of a learned musician playing back then, where the challenge was I need to write a song that has an intro, that has a bridge, that has a vamp, that has an intricate interlude. Now it's just play the song and change keys. Transpose, go up, once, go up, well, I say transpose, but modulate up, and what's meant to say transpose, modulate up the same chords in the key. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, I am not bashing the styles of music that are out there right now. I wish I was in the forefront of it. I'd be writing some of these songs that are out there now, and I go, you know what? It works. That's what I'm supposed to do. But from my standpoint, as the upbringing I was brought in, I like to hear movement. I like to hear songs move. I just like to hear movement. That's just me. So when I write songs, I write to the what I like to hear, and if it pleases other people hear it, then it'll be I won't call it a hit, but it'll be accepted. I'm having a problem holding the proper timing on the keys. If you have a drum machine, if you're playing on the keyboard, find a basic pattern to the songs that you're having trouble with and slow it down and practice to a less pattern. Maybe if the beat is at 90, slow it down to 75 and practice at 75, and then every week increase it by 2, so 75, 77, 79, 81, all the way up to the tempo where you want it to be. But when you're playing it in the slower tempo, don't just slow down the notes, but find out how many notes can you fit in at that tempo. Because as you get faster, you're going to omit some of those notes, but you'll be able to place them within the rhythm. Rhythm playing for any instrument, if you've never had an actual live drummer, then you're blessed because a live drummer can throw you off. You want a certain tempo, he's feeling good that day or she's feeling good, and she'll speed it up on you, and then you can't slow the song down once it's sped up. If you got a drum machine, and let's see, I don't have mine plugged in, but I don't want to go digging for the wires. disconnected so much to do this. When you have a drum machine, which is what I had in the early days, my father had a Lowry organ. I didn't like the band in the box in it, but I loved the fact that it had the drum pattern helped to steady my rhythm and help me build the rhythm so that when I'm playing a song, or if I'm beginning to play a song, I can hear the rhythm in my head and actually set that rhythm. Have you ever accompanied or made music for any famous artists? No, I have not. When you're a church musician who's dedicated to one place and don't go out much, you don't get to meet stars. We did have in my home church years ago some off-Broadway people come through there. They heard me play a couple of times, but never took me on the road with them. They did take another young man on the road with him. Didn't take me, and I'm glad they didn't, because I didn't need to be on the road. I was a young married man, had children. But um, I've accompanied, if you've heard of Lorraine Stansel, I have accompanied her in the past. I've accompanied here in the East Coast, if you know, I see her face, I remember her name. Why can I remember her name? I see her screen name, I don't know what her name is. Charlene. Oh, I got her first name, I can't think of her last name. Her name is Charlene. She toured with the Mom I Want to Sing. Tremendous mezzo soprano. She can sing up here, and it didn't have to even breathe. Just let it out. But I had a chance to play behind her. But as far as a notable artist, what was the question? Accompanied or made music? Nope, never really accompanied or made music with any famous artists. Um, I did for stints, I was a member of the Gospel Music Association. It's getting late, so I'm losing my tongue. Out of Nashville, Tennessee, because I wanted to understand the music industry from the business side of it. And they had a round table with about 300 people in the room, and they said, chances are none of you in this room will ever have a recording contract. Okay, I wasn't coming there for a recording contract. I was going there to hear the truth. They said, we represent singers now that are under contract with us. We're not going to stop working with them to work with you because you have a project. So stop sending tapes to us. Back then it was cassette tapes. So don't send them to us. They wind up in the trash. But he said what's a very telling thing that I always take home with me, and I always share this. He said, stir up the dust where you live. Keep on doing what you do. Don't stop what you're doing because you're trying to get an album. Just keep doing it where you are. We will hear about you. In other words, if what you're doing is so mesmerizing, so effective, where people want to hear you instead of hearing us, we'll hear about you and we'll come find you. So I keep doing what I do. As you see, I don't change my style to match what is going on in the times. I can play it, but I don't adapt to it. I don't say everything I play now has to have this chord. I don't have to have those chords in my anything I write. Unless, of course, someone says, hey, I got this song and this is how it goes. And I go, okay, I hear those chords in the song. I'll write it to that. Not a problem. That's what I'm capable of doing as a natural composer. But if somebody gives me lyrics to a song, I'm going to look at it. I'm going to go, I'll write it like that unless they tell me differently. Excuse me. But, gospel artists. Timothy Wright may be the highest one. The late Reverend Timothy Wright. He's from the Eastern New York. He's from New York City. I'm also from the New York City area. So he had visited my church on several occasions, and when I would play, sometimes he would be singing one of his songs if his musicians didn't come, which were his sons then, and other musicians before they got older. But nobody. I think I played on one album that was locally done. I think I was allowed to put one song on that album, and man, I have I have no street credits as to playing with or for gospel artists. No Kirk Franklin, no Kurt Carr, no Richard Smallwood. They're not in my repertoire. But I learned their music like I was one of their musicians, so I always appreciate that. How do you create runs with scales? You have to hear it in your head. Now I'm not a run master. I will throw one in sloppily at times because I feel like, oh, that should fit. But you have to hear it in your head, and that means have an ear for music. Let's see, middle C, F, A, C. So I can sing those notes to myself generically, and here they are. So if I went ba ba da 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 da, I just did a run, but I had to hear it first. Ba 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 da dum, ba ba dum bum ba da dum. In my head, I'm hearing it. I know where the notes are. Bum bum ba da da, bum bum ba dum ba dum bum. You have to be able to hear it in your head, and then because of practicing scales, you know where to find it. Remember I said major? Ba da da, ba da da, ba da ba ba da da. There it is. So ba da da, ba da da, ba da da, ba da da. Now my head now in sync with my hands. Ba da 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 da. Da, 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 da. There it is. Ba, da, 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 da. So now my head and my fingerings are in sync. So now I'm getting in sync with what I'm hearing. If I hear minors, I gotta play minors. I have to be able to play what I hear. And again, I'm not a singer, but I know notes. I know where notes should be. I know when a note is wrong. So the playing of runs, it's first of all, you've heard someone else do it. I've heard this run for years. Because I've heard that for years, I can do that. Because I've heard it for years, but I can change it up. Hear it first, and then mimic it from using the scale notes, be it major or minor, and then you begin to practice it until it becomes a part of who you are. Most Christian songs nowadays consist of just a few chords and lots of runs and trills. Well, because there's so much space in the songs. When you don't have a lot of chord movement, you have to fill the space with something. And again, it's not a bad thing, because if the Christian song, if it's effective in what it's doing, reaching the hearts of the listener, who am I to say what music is appropriate and what music is not? As I say, I'm not a singer. So who am I to say the person singing the song is not singing it where it's being effective? I know I wouldn't get in front of a mic. I'm doing it with you guys because I realize you already know I can't sing. But I can hear notes. I can hear notes. I can hear good notes. I can hear bad notes too. Tony Stark. Okay, that's cool. All right. That must take years to cultivate. Yes, it did. it came from a desire to want to be able to play with no one to show me, where I had to, when I heard something, wait sometimes 2 days before I get in front of a piano and try to remember what I heard. If there's such a thing as having a, I won't say, well, people call it an actual photographic memory, where you can see something and remember what you saw. I can hear things and remember what I heard. When I get to a keyboard, I can find it in the key it was in the way it was done, even if it's a full chord or a series of chords. What's the difference between playing for accompanying a singer and an instrumentalist? Playing for a singer is an art form, because you and that singer, hopefully if you practice before, you become married. And by married, you know when they're going to go up, you know when they're going to go down, you know when they're hoarse, you know when they're at an upper range, you know when they're singing a song that's not in their key, and you can go to them and say, no, this is not your key, sing it here. Or they'll come tell you, I'm not at this state right now, I can't hit that high note, can you lower the song for me? And you don't look at them all funny and say, well, I can't lower the song because I only know it in the key of A flat, I don't know it in the key of F. Yes, you become married to a singer. To an instrumentalist, and I've played for instrumentalists, you let them lead. They are the lead of the song. You are background. So if they're a saxophone player, you're not playing. You're not. That's their part. You're just doing this part while they're doing up there. You're just quoting behind an instrument. If they're a violin player, you're just playing chords behind them. They are the lead of the song. Preferably if you know the songs and you're just playing chords behind them. I'm not talking it down. Just one more over him. Oh no. I'm sorry if I gave the impression I'm not talking it down. Like the question between playing for company singer and an instrumentalist. Yeah. Well, I'm just answering the question about the singer and the instrumentalist in my past, and I can only go from my experiences. I've had singers who would prefer another musician play for them because he knew the way that they sang, and I didn't feel bad. But I felt so good when I've had people to have other musicians get off the organ because they wanted me to play for them. I felt what that feels like, because they said, Brother Talbot knows how I sing. Because I know I'm not there to overshadow them when they're playing. I'm there to support where their voice is. And as I said in the past, if you know the song and you can hear where they're a little hoarse, you can lower the song and look at them and say, hey, lower it down. They'll say thank you, because they have trust when you're playing for a soloist that you're going to support them, that you're there to support what they're doing. An instrumentalist, they're always going to be in the key that they're going to sing. They're never going to change their key. If they're E flat saxophone, they're going to play in B flat. Always. Every song they're going to play is going to be in the key of B flat, which I always love playing for an E flat saxophone. That's C for them, B flat on the piano. What are the instruments they normally play for? Flute player, of course, is going to be in a major key, so they'll be in C. Violinist is going to be in a major key, so they'll be in C if they're playing. I'm trying to think of the other instrumentalists that I play for. Trumpet player. Yeah, I think trumpet player plays in C. B flat is their key also. I think E flat. E flat. I used to know because I was an instrumentalist, I used to know what everybody's concert key was. Being a mellophone French horn player, my concert key was F sharp. That was my C as a French horn player. I got to remember what I can look at some software I have that has the breakdown for which key is every instrument cut to. But yeah, playing for an instrumentalist is a lot more easier than playing for a soloist, because sometimes you play for a soloist, they forget the melody of the song, and then they start making it up as they're going, and you got to be right along their side of them. They may do the chorus twice when there's another verse, or they may do the chorus first and not the verse, and you got to be right there. You can't stop the song and say, hey, you started with the wrong verse. No, if that's what they're feeling at that time, or that's the approach they're using, they expect you to be there to support them. So there is a major difference between playing for accompanying a singer, an instrumentalist. Thank you. That that shines so much light to me. Yeah, I'm been working with a soloist probably for 5 years now. Kind of hard to work within her schedule because it's so rough. But every time we do get together, it's almost like I've got to redo everything that we were working on. But then if we're singing a song, it's like I can be in tune with them because I already know if they're going to do this song, here's the key to put it in. And if they're sounding hoarse, they'll look at me. Can you lower the key? I go, not a problem. And I just lower the key and play the same chords in a different key. You have to adapt quickly if they sing it in the wrong note. Yes, you do. Because if you're in a church, there are standards. I'm sure I can remember they are. Greatest thy faithfulness is probably number 2. His eyes on the sparrow is number 1. I won't complain is number 3. Trying to think. Some will do the Lord's Prayer. They're really daring. I'm trying to recall the ones I've had to do. Some will get real old school on you and do Fill My Cup, Lord. Yeah, at the woman of the well, and I was seeking. Some might pull out We Shall Behold Him, like that Sandy Patty, I believe. And don't do it in C because they're going to struggle in C. It gets too high. It as well. That may be number 7. These are standard songs that a singer. Now, there's a difference between a singer and a soloist. A soloist hollers. A singer sings. They'll sing the words and they'll sing the notes true to a song. A soloist is used to just scatting, like a jazz singer. Scat, holler and scream. And I've played for them too. And you got to play the music. You got to play loud as they hollering and screaming. There are differences, especially in the church. There are differences. Let me see. You're absolutely correct. I try so hard to get my company staff to understand that a musician sometimes we can do too much. Yeah, the only person who understands a musician is another musician. If you're fortunate to get a pastor who was a former musician, he knows exactly where you are because he's been there. So he's a lot lenient on you on how you approach your music. But if you get a person who's just been a singer, who only knows how to holler, who's used to being in a college choir or in a what do they call those community choir, all they do is get together and holler, and now they're in charge of the music department and have not ownership over you, but authority as to what songs they want to sing and when you want to sing them. Yeah, you'll have a lot of clashes with them. I did. I had my clashes with them. Then I finally just said, you know what, no more. And I was vapor. I disappeared. What's the standard for Shine, Jesus, Shine? Once I played it and the congregation couldn't reach the notes in the chorus because you played it too high. That's too high. Too high. You started the song too high. When you know where the highest note is, and it's a congregation, you have to not look at what's in the hymnal. Because I played that song too, and I saw the key was in the C. I said, no, you can't sing that song up there. They're screaming, trying to sing the middle. What is your thought process when you harmonize songs? The same set of chords I gave you: majors, minors, sevenths, diminishes, major, diminished sixes, and augmentive chords. Basic. That gets you through any gospel song. Gospel song is, think of a gospel song as an R&B jazz song. That's gospel. When it starts going to this contemporary stuff, all the chords change. then you match whatever the writer put to that song. Like you couldn't put a lot of these chords with Hezekiah Walker songs, or you could do it with Kirk Franklin songs. Some of them, not all of them. Trying to think what else you couldn't put those chords to. You can put them with the Thomas Whitfield, not Thomas, well, yeah, with Thomas Whitfield. So he's like a classical jazz, and you can put it with the Rich Smallwood songs because he uses a lot of classical jazz chords also. Excuse me, I'm talking more than I usually do. But when I harmonize a song, Tony Stark, kind of a famous name there, if I know the song, then I'll use the chords in the song that I know. If I don't know the song, then I will stay as generic as possible. If somebody's singing a song, let's say they're starting an F, and I'm listening to where the melody is going. If they do a melody like that, I'm sitting there going, okay, what did they do? Then I'm listening to hear what else they're going to do. The worst singer I hate to play for is someone who wrote their own song and they don't know how it goes. They're making it up. They know their words, but if they forget what melody they put to the song and I'm playing for them, most times I'll lower the piano or organ and I'll try my best to try and accompany them. But if they like they're lost, I'll just stop playing and leave them out there. I've let several of them out there. I look at them and I go, sorry, I can't get this. You should have come earlier and rehearsed with me. Which is why we always tell people, sing standards. I know all the standards. But when these songs are songs you felt the Lord gave you this song, well, he gave it to you. He didn't give it to me. And I can put generic chords with it. But if I can't find a place to place those chords, then it's a mess. And then you let the person sing to the glory of God. And when they finish, hopefully they stay on key. You just give them that cadence. And you let that be the end of it. Next. Just go a cappella. Also what I did when I do a melody. I'm going to say I cannot pronounce your name correctly. Safai. I don't know every hymn, but I can learn any hymn. And that's the approach I always use. When I began to play for a Methodist church 22 years ago, I had maybe hymns from Kojic and from Baptist church that cold. I can do any of those hymns. When they pull out their hymn book and say, well, turn to page 737, I'm like, what hymn book has 737 pages? And because I can sight read, I looked at it and I says, all right. Well, I've never played this song before, but I can learn it. And I learned so many songs out of the Methodist hymnal. I think I still got one over there that I've never heard before because it was never sung in the churches where I played. And once I learned them like I wrote them. I learned the melody, I learned the harmony. If I had to go to a YouTube page to a gentleman called Organ Pipe 8 who plays every song that you could ever think of exactly as it's written, so I can get the feel of the timing and how the chording is in the hymnal as I'm looking at it, I said, oh, that's why okay. Then it was no problem. So yes, you may not know every hymn, but you should develop the ability to learn any hymn. Any hymn. Given time, of course. Can you show us what the hymnal looks like? Yes, I do have it. There we go. Now, there's not, every page is not a hymn. There's a lot of writing in here. But the majority of the pages are, let me see, what number does it stop at? There are a lot of psalters in there, so let's stop at the last hymnal. The last hymnal. Okay. But the last hymn page, let me see. I want to be correct in this. Okay, so the first page is number 57. Oh, 4,000 tongues to sing, which I knew. But when they went to page, let's see, well, in this book, 733. So from 57 to 733, and some pages have 2 songs on them because they're short. I was stymied. I'm like, well, no, I don't know that one, but I can learn it. And learn it is what I did. I learned it how it was. I could sight read it at home. If I got stuck on my sight reading, I went to the internet. Again, YouTube is a very tremendous site for learning how songs are sung, how they're played correctly first. And then I was able to now sight read and hear it's played correctly, how the words and the lyrics lined up with the notes, because some of these changes I was not familiar with. They didn't go with your basic 1, 4, or 5 changes. And I learned to appreciate a different hymnal wording, a different hymnal composition that I could add to what I currently knew. For 4,000 tongues, I'm sight reading G. Oh, 4,000 tongues played in the key of G. Now that I've sight read it, I can look at. I don't have to look at the book. I could have kept it hymnal, but I just added sevenths and a diminished chord to give it a different flavor. I could have kept it. Nothing wrong with this. I could keep it like that, or I can go, big fan. And that's what I did. I learned it correctly. Then I took pieces of what I could add where appropriate to bring out those pages of hymns. I'll just say, I can learn it too. Oh yes, always. You might say at 64, why am I still practicing? Because there's songs I haven't learned yet. And as long as I keep practicing, I leave myself open to hearing something different and seeing whether or not I want to adapt it. First, learn it, number one, the way I hear it, and then adapt it to what I've been playing all these years. Left the Baptist church and started playing for Name Church 12 years ago, and my knowledge of hymns has increased, yes, leaps and bounds, and I'm so grateful for it. You learn that there are more songs than Blessed Assurance, Down at the Cross, Great is Thy Faithfulness. What's the other one that's always a standard? Hold to His Hand. There are a lot more songs that are not sung than are sung. I put it like that. That are appropriate today. Trust me, a lot of these songs are still appropriate today. Written back in. Yeah, put the year they wrote. The years some of these songs written down in 1707 and 1825 and 1700s. I'm looking at some of these songs when they were written. There was some I even think 1868. Just looking at the dates that these songs were actually penned. 1749. I wasn't even alive back then. 1919. 1928. It's the 1900s. Let's see. Get the real old songs that are in here. But 1874 to 1851. A lot of these songs that you don't hear, and for those musicians that say, "Oh, hymns are boring," no, they're played boring. They're not boring. If you play it boring, then it is boring. But if you play it with an appreciation of how it was written, and add something to it, your own flavor touch to it, as I generally do on every song I play, then it's not boring. It becomes listenable. You want to hear it, and as a musician, you want to play it. Yes, sir. Playing to your own feel. Okay, playing with the feeling is something most musicians should start playing with. Oh yeah, you those songs from the 1600s were written in times that are not what's happening now, but maybe kind of relative to what's happening now. A lot of stuff was happening, and songs are a way of a person getting out the pain of what they're feeling. If they couldn't say it, they put it in a song. And I don't know if everybody had a piano back then, but someone could pen the notes. When you talk about the old spirituals of the slavery days, there was nobody there with a piano or with a using finale or sibelius to put them into sheet music. People were singing their pains, and that's all. Everybody would join in with that same pain. But when I play spirituals, I try to picture the songwriter's approach. What is that song? Go Down Moses. I believe it's in G. To let my people I don't try to gospelize that song because that song was birthed out of pain. Throw a diminished in there. A seventh to let my people. Classical. Again, harmonic, minor scale. Song is riddled with it. That's what I do. That's what I did. That's what I'm trying to foster in these coming days and weeks and months that the Lord allows me to be on this platform here. I was here much longer than I expected to be, but I like the questions because they give me a chance to answer from my perspective. Again, I hide nothing. As you see, my keyboard shows you where my hands are doing. I don't want anyone ever to think that I'm playing to impress. I'm playing to inspire. If I can inspire you to go back and do this, and you say, Brother Sam, I can go all the keys now. I'll say, fine. Can you do 2 octaves? Well, no. Go back. Do 2 octaves. You can't then do 3 octaves. Then do every octave on there. Now I'm impressed because you went and you increased your knowledge and your skill in music. That's what impresses me. So I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to inspire you. As musicians in all the albums I played for inspired me because I wanted to sound like I was on the album. That's what I wanted to sound like. I'm reading some more questions. Hymns are very rich melodically with the same carols. I hear some of the hymns lyrics in contemporary gospel. I catch it, but those are not familiar with hymns from that footnote. Okay. Do you have an approach for using the 2-drop voicing? Poet TV, the 2-drop voicing, unless I have someone to show me what that is. I've heard people play it, but I try to see, well, how do they apply it to music? I've always looked at techniques or patterns as to, can I apply it to a song? Can you apply a gospel touch to a spiritual. Yeah, you can. Every time I feel the Spirit. Now, what's that song they do? Or I want to sing when the Spirit just sing. Sing when the Spirit sing, and obey the Spirit. Gospel. That's one-on-one gospel. Jazz and gospel together in a spiritual song. You could be. If that's the way you know it, fine. But if I'm doing it, we're going to swing. We're going to swing if I'm playing it. But if you're playing it, I'm gonna sing it along and sing along with you. Or if I'm on the piano, you're gonna hear me playing the same chords you're playing, because that's what I do. I accompany. I don't lead. But if I'm in the lead, then I say, you know what? We're gonna swing a little bit. We're going to get happier, not happy, but happier. So the approach for two-drop voicing, I've got to see someone talk to it and give me an example of how they use the two-drop voicing. To me, two-drop voicing is this. I don't know if that's it or not. Because I've never heard someone explain it. Like when somebody says, oh, you can learn any song by learning the bass and using a 1-4-5, then I say, well, then show me. Don't tell me that's how you do it, because I learned the song. I learned what, if the piano player is doing this. I learned what the piano guy is doing. I don't know if there's 1, 4, 5, or 6 or 7 in it. I just know that's what he's playing to that song. And that's just me. I never learned what I call the shortcut, the number system. That's what I call it, the shortcut. Gotcha. Oh, thanks, sir. I'm going to go because I think I've been here much longer. I don't know if they'll even allow me to keep this up. This is so long, but this is so good. I like over 2 hours. Wow. I hope two lets me keep this up. I've never been 2 hours. It was an hour and a half the last time I was on, but this is good for me. I'm getting a feel for what some of you musicians might want me to cover once I start doing the live lessons here on YouTube. I'm also going to be doing Zoom live lessons in my future, along with Skype also. I use whatever platform people have. I want to be able to share the knowledge that I have. Yes, there'll be an actual Cash App there, but I'm not out there to try and bleed you dry. I want to give you enough information so that you won't have to come back to me. You say, Mr. Talbot, you showed me how to do this. Now I can do every song I ever hear. Thank you. That'll bless me more than trying to sign you up to take 10 lessons and say, in 10 lessons, you'll be able to do this. No, this doesn't take 10 lessons. This takes a willing heart to want to absorb and learn the theory of music, number 1, and its application, number 2, and then the performance of it, number 3. Theory, application, and then performance. And with just those 3 intentional desires in your heart, you can play any song out there you want to learn. Now, will you do sheet music? Probably not, because I didn't. But this is a path that will lead you to playing yourself happy before you can play somebody else happy. So with that, I'm going to say thank you all for coming in and helping me work out this system. I think you say it sounds good. I know I'm watching the audio meters on my software, and it's a good feed here. I'm going to play back if they do let it stay up. I'm going to play it back myself, and if I need to do any tweaking, I can do that. Maybe I won't need to go out and buy some new equipment. Maybe I have enough here. Just got to dedicate some equipment just for doing this. But I do appreciate you coming in and making my heart glad. I hope I shared something. Again, if you want some of the information that I had put together back in 2009, it's still on my computer. Just hit me up in my inbox at soundofjoy123@gmail.com. I got no problem sharing with you. I'll put that up. I'll type that in. Because as I say, I have nothing to hide. If you'd like to get a copy of the workbook, it's from 2009, so you see a lot of old references in there. But it is my my written, what's the word I want to use? I always try to find the right word. It's how I would approach a musician who's learning to play for the first time in expressing on how I became, learn the ability to love music to the point where I want to play it correctly as much as possible. If not correctly, play it right. Correctly is looking at the sheet music and play what's on the sheet music. But then if I want to play it like I hear it, I need to have a basic theory behind, underneath me to support it. If I play it wrong, I can fall back on the way it should be played before I start, messing it up. I'll put it like that. But messing it up in a good way. Jazz chords and gospel chords and all these other reharmonizing chords, they don't mess up the music. They just change the tone of it. Because somebody somewhere is going to appreciate it. But you should start with you first. So from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for coming in. I will be back. I'm going to try not to keep it to 2 hours. I'm going to try and cut myself down to at least half an hour so that I'm not being challenged by YouTube as to running up all their bandwidth space. And they start charging me for this space. But again, thanks for coming in. And check out my site, stmusician.com. That's where I'm also trying to help the singer and the songwriter. If you have a song, you've just got the words but no melody, I offer a service where I will compose the song for you. It's still your song. I don't take any song from you, but I help you create a melody around it and using generic chords, let you see what it looks like on sheet music, because I also do transcription and what it would sound like in a MIDI file format or on an MP3 file. Because again, I'm Soundofjoy Music Services. I try to do everything related to music that I could do for myself. I offer it as a service to you, my music community out there. So again, if I don't stop talking, I won't stop talking. Thanks again,